The NPL Victoria podcast is brought to you by Melville Bodyworks, located at 106 Melville Road, Brunswick West. For best-in-class panel beating and smash repairs and seamless support for insurance claims, call now on 8378 5555.
Forrester whips it in. It's a great ball in Bidwa! He's done it!
Alexander indirect all the way in! Incredible!
Jankovic battling for it.
Schroen! Marcus Schroen has done it again! And it's a good header away to save the day. Oh, wow! Welcome back, NPL!
Comes out with the ball. Berishevic to strike!
Oh, Charlie! Boom!
You could whack a frame on it. It was just art.
Good evening and welcome to an in-studio edition of the NPL Victoria podcast. That's right, it's just us, me and Ivka. My name is Josh Parrish and it's time to review round 5 of the NPL, starting with Oakleigh Cannons 2, Heidelberg United 3. But the final scoreline probably doesn't do Heidelberg's dominance justice, Ivka. This one was over in the first half.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a bit of a flattering scoreline to Oakleigh. Didn't see a result like that coming. Saw Heidelberg winning the game, but not as convincingly as they did. In particular, the first half is probably the best 45 minutes they've played all season. Really impressive performance by Heidelberg. Oakleigh, the goals they conceded is very unlike Oakleigh. When do you see Oakleigh trying to play out from the back and make mistakes like they did? Very uncharacteristic, but that was a testament to Heidelberg's pressure. I thought their pressing was really, really good. They set up really well again with the way they use Fletcher Fulton, and that resulted in the opening goal for him scoring, getting inside the box. The amount of numbers that Heidelberg had inside the box when they were attacking, Oakleigh had no answer for it. They just could not defend to save their lives in that first 45. Chris Taylor would be very, very disappointed with the way they conceded those goals. But Heidelberg's super impressive. I thought they really dominated Oakleigh throughout the game. Even in that second half, Oakleigh came back, but it was very late on. Heidelberg controlled that game for 80-odd minutes. And probably a bit disappointed in Oakleigh's performance. I thought they would have showed more, especially being at home and against a championship rival. We had Oakleigh right up there, and I thought it was a poor performance by them.
I mean, they did grab a couple of goals back late, but this one was decided in the first half. And I thought the first goal, it's shocking positioning from Oakleigh. Yes, Heidelberg exploited it beautifully, but it's from a free kick. You've got time to set up and get your shape. And Kingsley Sinclair and Campbell Strong just completely vacate the middle of the park. The defence is still 10, 15 metres behind the halfway line. So there's just such a huge gap for Heidelberg to exploit. And then they execute so well in the final third when they put the through ball through and get the cutback. But I just felt that for a lot of this game, Heidelberg were giving Oakleigh a taste of their own medicine. I mean, you look at the giveaway from Jacob Trapp for the second goal, and that was just, waiting for a mistake, springing the trap, absolutely crowding the middle of the park and not allowing Oakleigh to play through, and then and pouncing on the error. That's what Oakleigh were doing to Preston in round 1, and should have got a better result from that game, but instead Heidelberg maybe reversing the tables on their hosts.
I thought as well, Jarate, that was a really statement performance from him. I had question marks on him over the last couple of weeks. We watched him live against Preston the week before, and I didn't think much of his performance in that game. But I think on Friday he showed what he's capable of. He's not just the goals he scored, his hold-up play, his link-up play was really, really good.
He's busy as well. The work rate is bustling.
I was really impressed by him. I thought he was man of the match really with the performance he put in, and that would be a big relief for Johnny A, because I'm sure he probably had some slight concerns about him. Obviously knows his quality. Probably wasn't up to speed, hadn't played a lot of football, wasn't really playing.
Yeah, generally a late substitute, if anything, in the A-League, so hadn't had a lot of 90 minutes under his legs, even if you are training full-time.
So I think now we're starting to see his quality, and I thought he was super impressive. So that's a massive plus for Heidelberg, that they may have found a replacement for Bull Jawach.
Huge. And I mean, the one thing I noticed about him against Preston was he does not mind a shot and he keeps peppering the goalkeeper. I actually don't mind it because, we do see goalkeeping mistakes. We saw a few this week. We see spills. We see screamers in this competition. And a guy who just backs himself to shoot every time he's in position is actually not the worst trait to have in a striker, especially when you couple it with that work rate, that movement, and the hold-up play that we saw, albeit I think against an Oakleigh defence that wasn't set up very well to protect their centre-backs. I thought that midfielder was a real problem until Cam McGill came off the bench and I think changed the game.
Which is surprising because I rate Strong and Sinclair. I thought, especially in that opening game against Preston, they were superb that afternoon and they've been good since. So I don't know what went wrong for Oakleigh in that game. Obviously, Heidelberg, their press was very, very intense, so they might have been troubled by that. But Jacob Tratt, was a pretty poor performance from him, and we saw elements of it last year at times, him making mistakes like that, and he ended up getting dropped halfway through the season last year, so not good. And that Hall and Tratt partnership was so good in 2024. They won them a
tail
championship.
end of this season. That was the super double signing that saved their season and won them the championship.
And now, last year wasn't that convincing. Not off to a great start this season. A few question marks for Oakleigh to come out of that game. Not alarm bells. They're still going to be up there, but like the Preston Heidelberg game the week before, same with this Oakleigh Heidelberg game. These are the teams that you're going to be up against when there's stuff on the line. And if you're 3-0 down after half an hour in a big game like that against one of your rivals, it's slight alarm bells for the big games.
It's also really hard to deal with when Heidelberg put sort of 5 players up front. They throw the fullbacks forward, then players like Choctaw, their wingers, will almost play as extra number 10s in the pockets and you just get overloaded. And I don't think teams necessarily are prepared for that because most of the teams they play against don't play that way. That's why it's really stood out when Dandy City had such a specific game plan to take down Heidelberg. I feel like Oakleigh just tried to play the same way they always play and it didn't really work.
Yes and no. Like I said, the errors that they made for the goals, that's not how Oakleigh plays.
Yeah, uncharacteristic.
So that's why it's surprising that they couldn't deal with it because if they played their true brand of football, it wouldn't have been an issue for them. They should have had a lot more space. They should have had long balls over the top and they would have had a lot of room to work with. So it was bizarre that they were trying to make those movements outside that back four when they never do that. I don't know if it was an instruction or just individual errors. I would say more individual errors. The Tratt one wasn't really trying to play out. He was just daydreaming. No idea what was going on. And then Gerate's finish off that was phenomenal as well. It was a fair bit away from the goal and to still finish it the way he did. But the
Joseph Ford giveaway is pretty inexcusable.
That was really poor.
And the whole lead-up play to it was like negative pass, and then a player trying to overplay in his own corner.
Yeah, I thought Tom Manners probably should have saved that one. I thought he was probably caught on the back foot, didn't expect the ball to come back into the area.
I don't think Hall reacts very quickly either to the turnover. He's very much on his heels and just sort of like, oh, no, you've given the ball away and not thinking about the cut back to the striker. Like if he actually steps into the path of that pass, he could have prevented the goal, but it was a second too slow.
It could have been a lot worse for Oakleigh too. Heidelberg had a few chances that they missed in that first half. It could have been 4-5-0 at half time. So nonetheless, fantastic result for Heidelberg because another win against another championship contender. That's 2 in a row now, and both away from home. It's great stuff for Heidelberg.
Well, Oakleigh, as we've mentioned before, are slow starters or tend to be. So, we'll see what Chris Taylor has up his sleeve. But I do want to point out a couple of little minutiae things from this game. First of all, Yaron Souza is out of control and needs to be stopped. It's one thing to take a lot of time off a goal kick. It's another thing to fake an opposition player headbutting you and rolling around on the ground. He is the shithouse king of NPL Victoria.
Yeah, I did see that and laughed my ass off when I saw it. But, I'm sure he's not going to pick up 5 yellow cards and get a suspension, so he's played that one well.
Well, I mean, he's got a couple of yellows already. It might stack up pretty quickly.
Possibly.
Ashton Bonsall, get ready, mate. He could be called in sooner than expected. The problem is with that is once the referee's given him a yellow card for his antics, what referee is going to have the testicular fortitude to actually send off a goalkeeper?
That's what I actually think. You know, when they book him for taking too long to take a goal kick,
It almost emboldens you.
it's like, okay, well, you're going to set me off for it.
I've never seen a referee send a goalkeeper off. for
It will
time
never
wasting.
happen. It will never happen. So
I would love it.
they need to think of a different punishment. Really, all right. The first one could be a yellow. Then the second one may be a corner or something like that, where it's like you said, the refs
Well,
never going to.
I think for the 8-second rule, holding the ball, you can give a corner.
Yes,
now,
you
can't
can, yeah.
But can you give one off a goal kick?
No, not for time wasting, but maybe that's something they should
you
look
know,
at.
IFAB, get on it. But let's push on to Green Gully 0, South Melbourne under 23 1. 6 of them in the starting lineup, all kids on the bench. South did leave a few players behind to hold the fort as they travelled to the Solomon Islands. Javi Lopez, Marco Jankovic, Seb Pasquale, Jacob Eliopoulos, and Noel Bernardo all started. The rest of the kids were either fringe players or players I've literally never heard of before, including George Sarastavros, who netted his first goal in South Melbourne colours to decide the game. To paraphrase a famous question to Mick McCarthy, Ivka, it can't go on like this, can it?
It can. Like you said, some of those players that played for South, we've never heard of them. It's not like they were fringe players.
I mean, there's Dovison in there.
Yes, there was some that we know of, but then the rest were literally the reserve team.
I'm pretty sure it was a team of Football Manager regens. When the game rolls around, it starts generating new players. I'm not totally convinced that any of those guys actually exist.
But Sinisa is so smart. If you look at the players that actually started, Lopez, Jankovic, Pasquale, Eliopoulos, Bernardo, that's your complete spine. So took the chance on playing them and then just filling in the rest of the gaps we've already had. It worked. Another win, top of the table now, clean sheet. Sinisa even left 15 minutes before the game finished to catch his flight to the Solomon Islands. Jeez, Green Gully.
Sits up, puts on the glasses like Rafa Benitez, game over.
Well, Gully, if you're ever going to win a game, this was the one. When I saw those lineups come out, I thought surely Green Gully is going to win tonight. They started off okay. Javi Lopez in the first half made 2 or 3 really good saves.
There was one particular close range one.
But these were chances that were from corners or free kicks, not open play chances that Green Gully created. And then in the second half, they literally created nothing, Green Gully. Where is the desperation to win a game? That's the concern. There's some good individual players in that squad, some good ones, but they look so lost. They look like they have no pattern of play. I literally don't know what they're doing. I don't know what style of football they're trying to play. Are they trying to keep possession? Are they hitting long balls? Are they looking for runs in behind? To me, and I saw a comment on Twitter about it and I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like, give it to Kerr and hope he does something. That's literally what it looks like to me. Hope that he can do something grouse.
And when they gave it to Kerr, he gave the ball away and they conceded a goal.
So, geez, it's not looking good. I think this is a worse start than last year. They were probably in a very similar points position, but had lost some games more heavier last season. But I think the performances are a lot worse this season. They're literally, it looks like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see any positive.
There's no flashing lights in the stadium either because they haven't scored a goal.
I'm really concerned about it. We've seen last year Melbourne Knights get relegated, so no one is immune from it now. And the way it's heading at the moment, there's no positives to take out of their performances. It's literally, you watch a Green Gully game at the moment, and I've watched every one of their games now because it's intriguing me, the Green Gully story. And it's just like watching the same game every single week. Like, it doesn't matter who the opposition is. They're their own worst enemy. They make silly mistakes. They turn the ball over a lot. They don't run. The players are making really poor decisions. They don't create anything. It's alarm bells central at Green Gully.
There's a lot of bad body language out there. Not to go full Bill Simmons again after last week, but there's a body language doctor was not liking what he was seeing from players going, oh, it's your man. That's your, what are you doing? Like, there's not a lot of responsibility being taken in terms of on the pitch, there's a lot of hesitancy and not reacting to your teammates' mistakes to cover them. I thought the goal was case in point. I mean, Olamawewe is very slow on the scene. Karmas just has to show him off his right foot. Instead, he lurches in and then loses his balance. So shocking defending. The giveaway is bad from Kerr, but the teammates compound it with the way that they respond. And yeah, I mean, fair fucks to him. He buries it top corner. It's a good finish, but
Great finish.
It's again self-inflicted. I do wonder whether, he's obviously got a big reputation now after Altona last season and after his social media content. But Olamawewe, can he play in a team that theoretically wants to play front foot football? Because he looks slow at the moment, and the defensive line is much deeper than it should be. And it feels like it's because he's not pushing it up. Whereas, in a Magic team that was on the back foot last season and largely sitting on the edge of their own box or, at least a mid-block, he had a lot less space to cover behind him, and that maybe covered some of his deficiencies.
Look, the only thing I'll give him a little bit of slack for, cut him a little bit of slack for, is that he's fasting.
Yeah, and a few of the Gully players are.
And it affects players differently. So I don't know what it feels like to do it. So I can't put myself in his shoes. I would say he's struggling with it. I don't think it would be easy to do. Especially he can't even train properly during the week. So he would be nowhere near his full fitness and his sharpness. Doesn't look like the player he was last season, but a bulk of this season has been the Ramadan period, which finishes at the end of this week. So it'll be interesting to see if his performances improve post this week. So I'll cut him some slack on that. But we spoke about their injuries and playing under 23s. South Melbourne, case in point. Not that they had injuries, they've got other commitments. Bulk of that squad was under 23s players. They didn't play great football, but they worked their fucking asses off. And that's what you want from playing kids. And that's where Green Gully needs to look at their reserves team and start blooding some of these kids, because some of the players that are playing for Green Gully don't deserve to be playing for Green Gully at the moment.
And it's a dangerous situation when you get into players being undroppable and not having this is why Zara Markowski at Preston and Avondale had 2 players for every position, because it breeds, intensity in training, intensity on match day. If you've only got 11, you don't have any jeopardy in that team.
Well, and I don't want to hear these excuses of injuries. I don't care. Every team has injuries. Maybe Green Gully has more than others, but like I said, South Melbourne didn't have nowhere near their full squad, still won the game. You don't hear...
If Green Gully had every player on the bench as an under-23 and 5 under-23 starters and they lost, we wouldn't even give them a shred of criticism.
No, and that's what they should be doing. They should literally be playing some of the kids, because Gatkek spoke about it last week. Watch the game on Friday. There is no way he should be playing up top. He ain't a striker. And, he talked himself up a big game in his signing announcement. I have not seen that yet. So
I'll cut him slack until he gets games in his natural position, but up front it's not working.
No, it's not. And like I said, you've got your under-23s. Play under-23 striker this week. See what you get out of him. I guarantee you he'll work his balls off more than half the players that are playing at the moment.
Well, they brought one of the young boys off the bench against Avondale, late on, and to play up front. Forgive me, I've forgotten his name, but he put himself about and won challenges. Was he good? Not really, but he actually gave them a bit of intensity and work rate up top, which is pretty much all you need at this point.
Yeah, and yes, they had Uwe Ahmed. That was the major signs that they made. He's not available. You're banking your whole season on Yusuf Ahmed to get you through.
Look at his transfer market injury history.
Your whole squad's
it's 3 pages long.
Your whole squad's not injured. I predicted them to make finals based on the other players they recruited, and I got that horribly wrong, because this team will not play finals. No matter, even if they turn their results around, they're not a finals team. They need to turn their form around to stay in the league. Last year we spoke about their start and that it could look like a relegation dogfight. They turned it around, got themselves out of it, because they changed the way they played. They became more direct, more aggressive, and they started getting results. For whatever reason, they've gone back to try and be this pretty team that tries to play, but they don't. And like I said, I really don't know what they're trying to do. So why don't they go back to what was working last season when they were more direct, had looked more dangerous going forward? But yeah, for me, there's a lot for Green Gully to work on, a lot of alarm bells. And it's not all on David Chick. Some of these players need to have a good hard look at themselves as well, because they need to pull their fingers out, because the performances in terms of effort is just not there at the moment.
Yeah, I think some of it's on David Chick. I mean, playing Tommy Wendell as a right back seems wrong. And you could see his body shape was really weird in the lead up to the goal. That clearance, obviously it's Kerr's mistake, but I know teams play right footers at left back out of necessity, but playing a left footer at right back seems ridiculous to me.
Now look, he didn't have the greatest of seasons last year at the Knights.
I mean, he got relegated.
Either, so,
so did Karmas.
And
you signed a couple of guys who've come from relegated teams,
which is not always the greatest sign. And like I said, the players look lost when they attack. They look like they don't have clear instructions when they're attacking. So again, that could be a coaching issue, or it could be the players not delivering on the instructions that are given to them. We're not behind those closed doors, so we don't know. But they need to sort it out quickly. They've got a huge game this week against Bentleigh, and if they don't get up for that one, then I don't know where they go from there.
Well, if you're an avid reader of recently sacked Werribee City head coach Craig Moore's Facebook posts, then 5 games is not a fair sample size to judge a coach on.
No, it's
apparently
not.
Even if you've been there the previous year.
But that's where it's amplified this year, because the same shit happened last year.
Yeah.
It's the same poor start, bigger expectations this year. I don't think many tipped them to make the finals last year, but thought a mid-table finish. This year, it was amplified. A lot of us tipped them to make the finals.
There was a lot of glitzy signings. They look good on paper.
And
they always do.
And they're not. So that's why if, internally they're like, well, why are we getting hammered so much? Well, there was big expectations on you. You had a shit start last year and you've had a shit start again. So it doesn't necessarily going to turn it around again.
Well, I've got a banger of a stat here from a friend of the pod, Brent Sternberg, our commentary colleague. So if they lose to Bentleigh on Friday night, it would equal their worst ever start through 6 games. The last time they went 0, 1 and 5 through 6 games was 1979. So if you can't judge a coach on 5 games, can you judge him on 6?
I think you can. That's a concern, isn't it?
Well, the last point I had on this was Josh Hope. I would like to see a bit more from him. He's your star player, theoretically. We haven't seen any match-turning performances from Josh Hope yet, really. He missed a sitter with that diving header, and instead of kind of going into the rooms and lifting the boys up, he nearly got himself sent off in first half stoppage time out of frustration. That was a shocking tackle. That was an orange card at least, and he got away with a yellow. There was so much force behind it. It was on the ankle. It was bad, or it looked really bad on the stream anyway. Want to see more out of Josh Hope for sure.
Yeah, and he's been inconsistent over the years. He had a good second half of the season last year, but yeah, players like Josh need to step up. When your team is struggling like they are, guys like that are the ones that you need to step up and start making an impact.
All right, well, let's end the Green Gully flogging fest. Well done to South Melbourne, although their senior team dropping points and costly points against Vanuatu United, who came into the OFC Pro League second hub in 5th place. So they closed the gap to 4th, and that is actually a very bad result for South, because if people don't know, you got to finish top 4 in the OFC Pro League, because then you get into the leaders group, and that means you play the other 3 sides, and then as long as you don't finish 4th, you go straight into the semi-finals. Whereas if you drop into the bottom 4, you have to finish 5th and then have a playoff against the 4th place team after the extra round. It's kind of like the Scottish League. It's a little bit Lockie will like that one. But it's really important for them to finish top 4. And dropping that game against Vanuatu was, while I still think they will, still think they're one of the 4 best teams in the OFC Pro League, it means they have to commit more resources again the next hub unless they pick up maximum points from the rest of their games in Honiara.
Well, I thought their thought process would have been would have been banking on getting maximum points out of this hub because the next hub is the game against Preston. So
and we know what happened to the last South Melbourne coach who rested players against in preparation to play Preston, rather.
So you saw with the team they rolled out against Gully that most of the experienced guys were there for that Vanuatu game, and they would have been spewing they lost that one because if they got maximum points in this hub, I'm sure they would have kept all the stars back in Victoria for the next one, and just whatever happened in the next hub.
George Sarastavros, welcome to Oceania, buddy.
So big game against Solomon Kings in a couple of days for them. So
yeah, that's why they were also spewing that their Tahiti United game got postponed, and we're trying to play it at 11 a.m. the next morning. Got turned down.
Is that in this hub?
No, I think it's got to be the next one, which is even worse because you got to send more players and so it's a delicate balancing act for Sinisa, but flying colours so far, you got to say.
100%. They're top of the table.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
I was expecting them to be 8th by now or 9th.
You're like I think I tipped them 4th to finish 4th based on that they would have a very slow start. I don't think they even thought that they would be on top of the table with 12 points at this point of the season.
I don't think they thought they were going to win this game. Well, maybe they did.
But that's a credit to Sinisa, his coaching staff, and that whole playing group. To be able to get up for that game and still win, it's unbelievable. And I don't think they're getting enough credit. We're not really speaking about them too much because their performances haven't been fantastic. But they're doing what they need to do to get maximum points, and it's working, obviously, because they're on top.
Yeah, I really can't praise them enough, to be honest. I know it's a costly loss for their NPL aspirations when with the Vanuatu game, but in the domestic front, it's unbelievable what they've done with limited resources and heavy rotations. Those Altona and Green Gully wins are unbelievable. Let's press on to BT Connor Reserve, where Preston faced Caroline Springs George Cross, and it was a Christian Siciliano monster class in the second half to keep Preston at bay. I filed my official apology form for questioning their goalkeeper recruitment in the preview pod. Are you willing to do the same?
Did his job, didn't he? What's a keeper's job?
Make 4 unbelievable saves and 9 in total. Yeah.
Some of them were questionable strikes by the Preston players that just hit it straight at him. But yes, he had a great game, and he is a much improved goalkeeper compared to last season. I'll give him that.
He clawed one out of the top corner. He had a point blank save against Luke Francis.
I'm joking. He had a great game. And look, he does not look like the keeper he was last season. He was a disaster last season. I know he doesn't like hearing that. Well, I know that for a 100% certain fact that he doesn't like hearing that. But he was shithouse last year. And there's no getting away from that. Whether it was the pressure of playing.
Yeah, I think when you perform the way you did against South Melbourne in a Monday night game that everybody's watching against a very bad South Melbourne team at the time, that sticks in people's memories. It certainly stuck in ours.
Oh, look, he got dropped a few games after that as well and didn't really play much. So he was poor, but he's young and he's learning. He's come into this season with a point to prove, and so far he's done really well. Still a little bit suspect on crosses, but he's dealing with them much better than he was last season.
He's also only 22, so he's pretty young for a keeper.
Yes, I'm giving him credit, Josh. He's much improved. He's been probably man of the match the last 2 games for Georgies. And I know Eckers rates him really, really highly. I spoke to him before the Green Gully game, and he spoke to me about why he brought him to the club and thought he was one of the best young goalkeepers in the country. And he's improving, having a great season. I'll give him that. And got his side a point. Without him in goals on Friday night, there's no way George Cross will walk away from that game with a point. And that's the concern out of that game for Georgies, is that they shouldn't have got a point from that game. Siciliano, yes, great performance, but will he do that every single week? Probably not. They got exposed a lot defensively on Friday, but they did have some players out, Georgies, some key players.
Well, Tsitsides has completed his move up. No, just kidding.
Yeah, he was a big loss for them. Geordie Tucker was okay, but he hadn't played for a couple of weeks after he got sent off against Green Gully. And he's not a natural centre-back as well.
No, he's a fullback by trade.
And Tyler James didn't play in the middle of the park, which is a huge loss for them. I think he's key to the way George Cross play. So to still get a point, it's an amazing point for Georgies. But when you really look at the game, Preston should have won that game 4-5-1.
I mean,
5-0, really. They shouldn't have conceded the goal.
we don't have XG in NPL Victoria usually.
For good reason. That's the shittest stat in real football.
The XG, though, for Preston would have been off the charts in this one. Terrible giveaway from Aiden Bryce for the goal, uncharacteristic, but you play out from a short goal kick. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, surprising by Bryce to make an error like that. He does probably have one a year in him, so he's done his one. Very uncharacteristic, like a great finish by Luke Lofts. Still had a lot of work to do.
He told me afterwards he had 4 in 3 against Preston, which he was very proud of because he always used to score against them for bullying.
Okay.
So he loves playing Preston. It's just one of those players. And good anticipation from Seb Hernando, I think it was, seeing the mistake as it unfolded, seeing that Mielides was about to get wrong-footed and the weight on the interception pass, whatever you call it, whether there was an element of fortune or not, was just straight into Luke Lofts' path, and it's a beautiful finish. So bad error, but well-executed goal.
So this is where Brendan White should take a leaf out of Bryce's book. There was no point into Mielides saying, you fucked up, I passed it to you. It was hand up and let's get on with the game. And that's a credit to Bryce. He knew he made a mistake, and shit happens in football. But George Cross would have been licking their lips at taking the lead. And when I was watching the game, I thought, geez, there's a chance here, Georgies. But that second half performance from Preston was really good. The first half wasn't that great. I thought it was a pretty poor game the first half, to be honest, which Georgies would have liked. That's the type of game they probably wanted it to be. But Preston took it to a really good level in that second half. Just still, that forward line isn't clicking that well. Look, like I said, he made some great saves, Siciliano, but there were some shots that were shit. There was a Cuba one that he hit straight at him, found the space in there. There was a few other chances that they just under-hit the shot or hit it directly at Siciliano.
Yeah, they did hit the post twice.
Look, even that Francis one towards the end where he found a bit of space, and Siciliano did extremely well the way he came out, made himself big. But if you watch that chance back a couple of times, which I did, it's very tame from Francis, probably because he's not...
Well, he hasn't played.
Yeah, he's not fit, he's not sharp. But he could have gone around him, chipped him a bit better. There's just those little moments that make the difference that they would have been disappointed with, and they'll be scratching their heads at how they didn't get maximum points out of that game, Preston.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely peppered them. I thought, Mielides had a really good game despite getting wrong-footed for that. That wasn't really his fault for the goal. And
I think I messaged you during the game about his performance. He
looked
such
confident.
A classy player, Mielides, another young player in the competition. A lot of pressure playing for Preston in the middle of the park. Even when these guys start coming back from injury, it's going to be hard to take his spot. He's a very, very classy player.
And it's especially helpful to Preston with the new player age restriction rules, because you've got a player who's 19 who's starting, as opposed to bringing in some random resi who's never going to play, which some clubs have to just fill out the bench to fulfill the requirement.
Well, I think Mielides is the prototype for why that rule was brought in. I don't know if they would have signed him if that rule didn't exist. Maybe they still would have, but he's
got a guaranteed place in the squad, and once he's already going to be in the squad, well, you look at him and think, well, can he start? And apparently he can. And with Payos still coming back, Oli Kubale hasn't played yet, there's a spot open there, and he's made it his own.
Well, there's a Rising Star Award this season. For me, he would be the red-hot favourite after 5 games to take that out. Yes, other guys, can still have a good season, but at the moment, the way he's playing, definitely the best young player in the competition.
Yeah, he's I think there's a few guys at Melbourne City who are
yes,
pretty decent as well, especially considering they're always going to get votes. And I think Lawrence Wong was our Rising Star nominee. Should A-League Academy players be eligible for that award?
No,
I think that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder if they are.
They are. No, because he's the Rising Star nominee for the last month.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they shouldn't be. That's a bit of an unfair advantage. If they're playing in a very good system with each other, it's pretty easy to stand out in the team like that. Whereas for what George Mielides is doing, standing out for Preston,
senior players, yeah,
in that kind of hotbed environment, it's a different type of pressure he's dealing with compared to the Melbourne City ones.
Well, Preston dropped points, then still not quite sure how they did it, but well done to Georgies for a gritty performance, even if their goalkeeper bailed them out quite a few times towards the end. There's one other thing from this game. So Georgies defending the whole second half, like just under siege. Siciliano save after save, just putting in, suffering. And then they had one chance in the second half, and then at the end of the game,
I saw this.
they win the ball. They go forward. No one knows whether to try and score a goal or go to the corner to waste time. They actually outnumbered Preston. I think it was 5-on-4.
If that was in the 60th minute, they probably would have scored from that chance.
And there was just they completely froze. It was, we were attacking. What do we do here? I've forgotten. It's been 45 minutes since I got over the halfway line. And they just dawdled. Preston win the ball back, final whistle. It was literally the last kick of the game.
Even with them defending that whole second half, that one chance they had should have been a goal. It was a great save from Ryan.
It's an unbelievable stuff. And that's sometimes the mark of a really top goalkeeper who's in a good side, who's on top most of the time, is you can stay locked in to make that one save when you're called upon. Whereas, Siciliano's getting a touch every minute.
But, to be fair, George is still, I'm not sure, do they have the best defensive record in the competition?
They do.
Yeah, and still undefeated. So, look, can't take anything away from them. They've still got a point, grinded out that point. Preston didn't find the back of the net. That's their problem, not George's. So, they're flying.
Yeah, well done to George Cross once again. Avondale 4, Dandenong City 1. Dandy City, question marks now. I mean, I know the points deduction affects their position on the table, but still in the relegation zone. They led in this game through a Jamie Latham penalty, but on comes Max Green, 4-4 fucking 2. Ott and Fornaroli up top, Valentini and Max Green as the wingers, and they just flew forward in transition every single time and completely destroyed Dandy City in the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, that first 45 minutes of that game was some of the worst football you'll ever see. It was shocking from both sides. It was just a shit game. They were both just passing side to side. No one was really breaking each other down. It was, no chances for either side in that first half. And then Dandy started a little bit better in the second half. But probably 5-10 minutes into that second half, Avondale really started putting their foot down. And then against the run of play, Dandy City get the penalty and go 1-0 up, which was the only really foray they had going forward. And you thought, geez, Dandy City 1-0, could probably defend this lead and see out the game. No, like you said, Max Green came on. He changed the game for Avondale. He was exceptional on that right-hand side, gave a lot of headaches to Corey Sewell on that left-back position, created a number of chances, and George Ott really came into his own as well in that second half. That's the best I've seen him play this season. His link-up play, the way he was holding the ball, he was on Jack Webster, and I thought he dominated Webster throughout the whole 90 minutes. Really,
Max Green was so good in this game that I thought he was going to add an extra X to his first name after that performance. Except the Australian government no longer allows that, so...
Well, he came on for Murai, and Murai had no impact at all in that opening 60 minutes. I thought he really struggled in that game.
Well, he weirdly looks like the square peg in this Avondale team.
Well, when they've changed formation to this 4-4-2, he does not fit into that. Valentini can play that role. He's good at coming in and going out wide. Murai does not have the capabilities of playing out wide. I don't think he's a winger at all. Essentially, he'd be okay, but you got Trachesky and Towns there who were both very, very good on Saturday afternoon.
He probably has to play in one of the forward roles and, dropping George Ott and Fornaroli apparently. So.
No. I can see that partnership starting to slowly work. In particular, that second half, you could see what Avondale was trying to do. The first half, I had no idea what their style of play was. I reckon they got a rocket up their ass at half time, because the second half, you could see what their patterns were. Playing to George Ott, Fornaroli playing off him, then the wingers going out wide and cutting in as well. They gave a lot of headaches to Dandy City, but some of the goals Dandy copped, that was so poor. That free kick from Carpenter, Pierce Clark has to save that. From where that's positioned, you need to position yourself better. There's footage from behind the goal as well where you get a better view of it. Take nothing away from Carpenter, great strike, hit it really well, but you can't get beat in it at your near post from that position where the free kick was. I'm sorry, but that was really poor. And then they just fell apart, Dandy. After the second goal went in, I just thought they looked tired, they looked slow. McPhee up top was really poor. I don't think he's match fit, but he really struggled to get into that
he's
game.
barely played in terms of preseason. He hasn't really had one.
Yeah, really.
They've got 3 strikers who haven't had a preseason, which is
It's a
tough.
concern because they looked really crap going forward. Jamie Latham was buzzing around, but he had little impact in that game. A lot of concerns for
I
Dan.
thought Gaku Inaba was really bad in this game as well.
Yeah, he
which
was.
is uncharacteristic. I thought he was at fault for at least 2 of the goals.
Even Webster was poor. The amount of times Webster got attracted to the ball to step into the middle of the park and missed it, and then exposed this whole defence. Avondale should have really taken advantage of that a couple of times, which they didn't. It's probably the worst game I've seen Webster play. And it was hard to watch because I rate him so highly. He's been around for so long and been exceptional, but he looked slow out there. And even, he was playing on and Fawn Rowley. Fawn Rowley's no spring chicken. And he looked old against him, which in that game you should have been more comfortable against. Ott's not a speed merchant, neither is Fawn Rowley, and he just looked slow out there. So I'm just wondering with their recruiting, did they give too much loyalty to the squad that took them to the grand final last season? Is it one season too much for some of these players that are there?
It's not the younger squad.
No, and that's why
Their average age in the grand final was around 29, 30 in that starting lineup.
the reason why I backed them to make the top 6 again was because of the experience they've got. But it's such a fine line. When do you let some of these guys go? When do you bring in fresh blood? Not sure if they've got it wrong yet, but there's a lot of concerns out of that game for Dandy City. Because I don't think it was a 4-1 game.
No.
I don't think Avondale... Yeah, the second half they were very good, but I don't think it was a 4-1 dominant victory. They did still have to come back from being 1-0 down, which is a great show of character from Avondale to do that. 1-0 down against the run of play, and then to really put your foot down and get 4 goals. Credit to them. I'm not taking anything away from the victory.
It's also impressive that 2 of them were central midfield players in a 4-4-2 arriving in the box in the last 5-10 minutes of the game. Like that speaks a lot to Christian Siciliano and Ute Towns and their fitness and the willingness to take risks and get forward.
But that's where the concerns are for Dandenong City. If you, again, watch the goals from behind the camera footage and you see how bad that tracking back is for both of those goals, especially for Jamie Latham on the Trajeski goal, just watch him waltz into the box and be a free man. Wouldn't you recognise that danger and track back and get into that position? I can see you've got incredible header from Flotman there. I don't think it was an incredible header, to be honest. Again, poor goalkeeping, poor positioning.
I thought it was a pretty
Flat-footed.
good header. He scores it from a long way out. He rose really well, especially off such a floaty delivery.
He's been probably one of the signings of the season, Flotman. I've watched Avondale in the flesh, I think 2 or 3 times now. He's very, very good. He's a commanding
Which is
centre-back.
surprising because he wasn't really playing for RPL last season.
Well, there was Jacob Muir came in with higher reps than him. I thought Muir was quite poor in the game compared to Flotman. Flotman was exceptional. He's so good.
Muir had played A-League a lot more recently than Flotman, which is probably why you assume that there's something there. There's not always.
For me, he's the best player in the Avondale squad. He's so good in the air, calm on the ball, fast, very physically strong. He's a very, very good centre-back. And, there was concerns about Kamara, Bryce and all these guys departing. Flotman's been a very, very good replacement. I'm super impressed with him.
Anything further on this one?
No. Like I said, very concerning for Dandy City. Avondale, look, credit to them. They're not playing great football, but they've won a game 5-0 and they've won a game 4-1. So you would think it can only get better for them. So, I didn't tip them to make the finals. I'm still not convinced on them fully, but if they're still winning games 5-0 and 4-1 without playing their best football, I hate to say when they are playing their best football, how good they can be.
Well, there's one last thing to point out from this game. Another cement mixer has hit NPL Victoria.
I thought you'd like that photo I sent you.
Avondale saw what Preston did last week with their possibly inflatable, not sure, cement mixer. Definitely wasn't. That's just me. And they've gone copy them bar for bar, word for word, one behind the goal.
I wonder if they've called Preston for this week's game and asked them if they can park it behind the other goal. Just have a mix-off.
A mix down. let's head on over to Broadmeadows, where Hume City got the job done 3-1 against Dandenong Thunder. One of the great goal line scrambles in this game. It is pure comedy, and Neil Simon's on the call. At a 10 out of 10 enthusiasm for every shot that came in. He had nowhere left to go, but he kept at it, which I love to see. And there were 2 nutmegs in the build-up. This is just an all-time, like, everything in one go. I had sensory overload watching this video.
Yeah, he's gone under the radar, Engelhart, hasn't he? I thought he's actually been quite...
Well, he scored a sensational chip that you poo-pooed all over because of the goalkeeping in round 1.
That's not a sensational chip. That's still shit goalkeeping. But he is a good player. He's a very handy addition.
Keep your legs closed around Chris Engelhart. Unbelievable. He's the nutmeg king.
Yeah, but that was shocking defending by Dandenong Thunder as well for that. They had 4 or 5 chances to clear that ball, and they still didn't. Look, great performance by Hume. I'll give him credit. But, geez, if there's alarm bells ringing around NPL Victoria, it's definitely ringing at Dandenong Thunder, because that was not a good performance.
Aaron Calver didn't cover himself in glory for the Thunder goal either. He threw himself at that one, and I think he ended up getting tunnelled by his own teammate, but the defensive header was already off the mark before then.
Oldie didn't either. He's kind of tried to make himself big, and then he's gone early, fell down, and good finish by Courtney Perkins, but they conceded straight after that, Dandy Thunder.
Yeah.
You know, so, I'm concerned for them, really concerned. We had sneaky suspicions that they could be poor this year and be in a potential relegation dogfight. I didn't think they would be because of Adam Pittick, because he would have them organised, but you can only do so much as well with what you've got, and I don't know. I think it could be a long season for them if they don't start improving very, very quickly. They just look a shadow of the team that they were last season, obviously with the players that they've lost. Defensively, Van and Moroggan held that defence together so well. I think we underestimate the loss of Jamie Young as well. His leadership on the pitch, his presence, made a lot of match-winning saves for Dandenong Thunder last season, and his ability to start the build-up play as well last season. Yes, he made a lot of errors on the ball, but he had the confidence to do it. And they just can't play the same brand of football, this is where Adam Pittick needs to start earning his money, in that sense, where you don't have the same personnel. Look at what Johnny A has done with Heidelberg. Changed the way they play because he doesn't have the same personnel as last season. This is where Pittick kind of needs to recognise, hang on, I don't have the same type of profile of player I had last season. Maybe we need to change the way we're going about things, because we can't produce the same type of performances.
I mean, when you lose Kyle Taylor and Yuki Uchida, that's like your entire in-possession plan goes out the window, basically.
Well, with Hassan Jallo, I thought last season he was good, but he had a lot of help from Uchida.
No, he wasn't the star of the show up top.
And I didn't think he was. When they signed him, I thought, wasn't that great when he was down here before, but he was good last season. This season he's struggling. He doesn't have that same personnel surrounding him.
He doesn't have players attracting defensive attention away from him. Like when he was the, kind of the one-man show, his previous stint was at Altona.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot going forward. He didn't have a huge impact.
Yeah.
But when you had Wade Decker, who's injured at the moment, Daniel Clark, Uchida, Taylor, all sucking players away from you, and you get into 1v1 sprints, which is what he's unbelievable at.
Clark's another underrated loss for Dandenong Thunder. He was key to their success last season too. He had a fantastic
Just knits everything
season
together,
Yep.
and they don't have those sorts of players in that team. Look, it's early days.
It is.
I'm worried for him.
I am worried for them too. I just still put it down to Adam Pittick being able to turn it around if he gets the time. I think I said in the preview episode that's the concern for Thunder, that they start off poor, that they had higher expectations internally, which they probably did. They always expect to make the top 6 standing on Thunder, regardless of what squad they've got. Whether he gets the time to see this out, hopefully he does, because they're not going to get a better coach than Adam Pittick. It's not him that's getting it wrong. He just needs to find a way to utilise the personnel that he's got a little bit better.
Yeah, it strikes me that as a team that should have lower ambitions this season. If they don't have lower ambitions this season, then at boardroom level I'm talking about, not the fans or whatever, then there's trouble. yeah, two Dandenong teams in the relegation zone at the moment.
And that Dandy Derby's going to be good when it comes around.
And just when they're all redoing the pitches.
Yeah, it's not a good start for either of them, really, considering the seasons both of them had last season.
All right, let's push on to Casey Fields, where Melbourne City had a thumping 5-0 win over St Albans Dinamo. There were eyebrows raised when I predicted 4-0 on the pod last week. It was the one prediction I got close, really. And it turns out I didn't go hard enough. This was a slaughter.
Well, that's what I was saying to someone about the game, that you did say 4-0. I think I said 3-0. So it wasn't a shock for me to see the final score. It was probably a shock at how quick the goals went in.
Oh, they were 4-0 after, 30 minutes?
Yeah. But you could see this result coming, really.
31 minutes.
Like you said, 4-0. I just knew that the way Dinamo set up and the way Melbourne City plays, it's a recipe for disaster. So I'm surprised Dinamo didn't set up differently for this game. How did they not see it coming? They were so poor, Dinamo, in this game. Defensively, in the midfield as well, they just got destroyed by Melbourne City. And when City gets going like this, scary team. They're a lot better than the Victoria team that we saw last year. They've got a lot better talent than they had. They'll do this to a few teams this season, Melbourne City. It won't be the first time that they win a game by a huge scoreline. But what gets me about Dinamo is you try and play out from the back and try and retain possession as a team. You're not that type of footballing side. I understand everyone wants to play pretty football, but have a look at what Vasiliadis is doing with George Cross. He doesn't have the personnel to play pretty attractive ball retention football. Solid team, hard to beat, hard to break down, work your ass off, try and get a goal. It's working for them. Dinamo, for whatever reason, are trying to play tiki-taka football out of the back with some of the worst ball-playing defenders in the league. You've got a massive target man that's good at holding the ball up top. You've got pacey wingers. You've got hard-working midfielders that can win second balls. Why do they not play direct, Dinamo? You've got the personnel to be a really good counter-attacking team or direct over-the-top kind of team with the personnel that you've got. Hot tip, you guys are not a ball-playing, possession-based football team.
I mean, you could just be bypassing the midfield and playing into Platt.
Yeah.
Go play from there. Look, to be fair, not many of the goals came from those sorts of turnovers in this game. They were getting burned on the counter-attack when they were trying to press. Like, they were woefully exposed, especially down that left-hand side, which is still a problem for them. They started Ajak Dayu. He got dragged after 34 minutes. Not sure if there was an injury. It didn't look like it.
No, he was at fault for a couple of the goals.
And Alec Mills came on, but Lockie Weir's really struggling. I didn't like the body language doctor didn't like Joey Cholina pointing at a teammate to track a player that he couldn't track in the lead up to one of the goals. But what gets me is, yes, you're going to get outplayed in a footballing sense against Melbourne City. Nearly every team is. But you've got to make up for it with physicality, with discipline, with experience. And to get beaten on 2 set pieces by a bunch of kids is completely inexcusable in my book. Yes, Jaden Nikovsky is really tall, but he's also as thin as a rake. Put some body on him. Get Mikael Platt back there and put some body on him when he's going up for a header. Like, it was so soft.
Did you see Nikovsky, the amount of times he just carried the ball from centre-back all the way into the attacking half? He did it about 3-4 times. How can you let a young centre-back, yes, like I said, I rate him very, very, very highly, but you still can't let him just waltz through you the way he does. And I suppose this is why we saw the result coming, because we knew Dinamo was going to try and play Melbourne City's style of football against them. When Melbourne City's got 10 times more quality to play that style of football than Dinamo does.
Yeah, this isn't a Mitsushi Inoue game, really. Like, you should be picking your hard hitters in this one. Still no Lloyd Isgrove. Do you have any word on injuries or?
No, I would say he's been at the games. You can see him on the footage. That I think he's even been sitting on the bench sometimes. So
have to assume that's an injury.
Yeah, which would have been a concern for them signing him, because he struggled with injuries last season as well. So that's not good. I'm sure they were banking on him to be fit, and he was a good signing for them. But that's the least of their problems, Dinamo, really. I think they really need to look at the way they play. And again, we spoke about Gully having a poor start 2 years in a row. Dinamo can't do it again. they've gotten out of jail twice now for 2 years. Poor start and then recovered in the back end of the season. They can't afford to do it again because if they keep going the way they're going and getting the results they are, I can't see them turning it around again.
Well, they're 10th at the moment, so it's not all doom and gloom. Altona below them. You'd expect, though, that Dandy City will turn things around. Does Dandy Thunder turn things around? I'm not sure. Green Gully in serious trouble. So it's probably going to be 3 of those 5. We never know. There could be teams that drop down the table. We could see Bentleigh drop into the discussion. It's still early days for Georges. They look fine, but, it's still very early days. But some of the teams who are expected to be in relegation danger, like a Melbourne City, which we're vastly wrong about, it seems, that takes them out of the equation. And then it's a numbers game and you got to be better than 3 teams. Are Dinamo going to be better than 3 teams this season? I'm not sure they are.
At the moment, they are. But
on the table they are. There's a points deduction for Dandy City, which helps.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't see Dandy City losing games 5-0 and Dandenong Thunder, as poor as they've been, I can't see them getting smashed like that either. So, yeah. Dinamo, the advantage they've got is Churchill Reserve and they need to start picking up wins at home and start utilising that ground as a fortress for them. Hopefully it's a learning curve for them, that performance, because that was one of the worst Dinamo performances I've seen for a long time.
Well done to Melbourne City. It must be said they were fantastic and just the fluidity of their attacking play is really fun to watch.
They're the most attractive team to watch in the league.
Yeah.
Victory had elements of that last year. They were actually not bad to watch at times. They were just very, very naive. These guys are so mature for their age. I suppose they've got a bit of A-League experience, these kids as well, so that does help.
Yeah, it all depends on how long they've got access to those players, and we know they're going to have a break, but if they bank points now, it could be hard for any of those relegation-threatened teams to overhaul them, and they might even contend for top 6.
Well, Victory didn't do that last year. They didn't bank points when they had Jing Reese playing and Luca College and all these guys. They struggled through the whole year. Yes, they got wins here and there, but Melbourne City's really putting their foot down as a finals contender at the moment. Victory never looked like that last season. Like I said, people told us that, coaches had told us that we underestimated Melbourne City, and we'd only based it off previous academy experience.
Yeah, we didn't have a squad list, to be fair, when we made that tip.
So they were right. They've seen them play and know how good they are tactically. I think we did underestimate how good this team could be.
All right, well done to City. Let's go finally to a game which we thought had 0-0 written all over it, but it turns out that Bentleigh Greens did have a couple of goals in them after all, thanks to their match winner, Maki Petratos. 2-0 win for Bentleigh away at Altona. And sometimes in these tight games, it takes a moment of magic or a moment of madness, and we got the latter between, is it Lachlan Gillard and Casey Went. Oh, my gosh.
A moment of madness or a moment of pure shithouse defending. That's horrible. In such a big game for Altona, really, to have a mix-up like that is quite poor. And that's where the concerns are for Altona. They were so good defensively last year, but this year I'm seeing no signs of that team.
The marking is shocking.
Yeah, it's really
There's no
bad.
discipline. There's none of that just sort of hard edge to them. They're so porous. We pointed it out last week with the setup and lead up to the Dinamo goal and just comically unmarked players. The whole second half, they got completely destroyed, based on the mini match anyway. I didn't see the full game, but we have watched the highlights, extended highlights, and Bentleigh had all sorts of space in the second half. First half was a bit tighter, but it's not good. It's really, really not good signs for Goran Lozanowski, and this might finally be the year that their luck runs out.
I think so. It's probably the worst Altona side that Loz has had. Every year he was able to recruit a few gems that turned really good for him, and then he'd lose them to the bigger clubs and then start all over again. He had to do it again this season. Don't see any gems in that team just yet. See a lot of rocks in that team.
Not too many diamonds.
No. But credit to Bentleigh. They were poor the week before against South Melbourne. And he brought in Broxy to start as a centre back, and I thought he brought a lot of calmness to them. Allowed Kamara.
He brought a bit of flair in the second half as well. Did you see the back heel?
I did. Did you see the way he chased back to get to win the ball back as well? He was bloody steaming out of his head. You could see it on the camera, and then did the back heel after that.
It nearly led to a goal.
You know,
I don't think I saw, and I watched a lot of Melbourne Victory when Lee Broxton was playing. I don't think I saw him even attempt a back heel in like 15 years of A-League football, and he pulled one off in the NPL, which is nice to see.
No, it was a good performance. And it allowed Kamara to be a bit more free as well. You saw, I wouldn't call it an assist for that first goal, but that's the kind of
He
Kamara.
put the ball in an area and said, just wait, he's about to do something stupid.
But that's the kind of Kamara we saw at Avondale,
Yeah.
the one that would drive and play those kind of balls. So that's the weapon that they do have with him there. And Idara started as well. So, that's why I give Bentleigh a little bit of leeway in terms of staying up, because they've got such an experienced group of players that when the going gets tough, they can grind out a result like that at Altona.
Well, there was a time in this game where Broxham, I'm pretty sure, stepped into midfield and he was playing with Idara. And that's got to be the oldest midfield combination we've seen for a while. It's over 72 or something.
But see, I would be very interested to see Bentleigh against Melbourne City. What we were just talking about with Dinamo.
Clash of styles.
And how that experience and physicality and the way Katsakis would set up against them, that would be a fascinating game. Based on what we're saying.
Well, it didn't go too well for Dandy City against Melbourne City, so maybe the future is now old man.
But good result for Bentleigh. They're the type of games you need to win if you're going to stay up, and likewise for Altona, and it's another loss for them. So, yeah, alarm bells all round this week in NPL Victoria, alarm bells for Altona.
Well, there were alarm bells for Altona. There were sirens and flares and all sorts at Summer Street as we moved to VPL 1. Melbourne Knights 2, FC Melbourne Serbia 0. And I was just glad to see, a commentary team which was a safe pair of neutral hands to handle such a hot button fixture.
And Ostowski with the ball at his left foot. Luka College! 1-0 Melbourne Knights! And the crowd erupts here at Tomset Stadium.
I should have done sideline reporting for that game just to cap it off. But, geez, what an iconic moment for Ivan Gergic commentating that game. I don't think he could have called that Luka College goal any better than he did. Great finish.
He called that goal so loud that the fence fell over.
What a finish from College, though. And you could see how much it meant to him to score in a game like that. I think Knights absolutely destroyed Melbourne Serbia in that game, to be fair. They created a number of chances. They actually looked really good in that second half, the Knights. But, a shame for Darcy and Ostowski. Really.
Is he okay?
I'm hearing that it's a possible ACL injury.
Oh my gosh.
So I think the top of the fence got stuck on his knee. So he was the first one there when it collapsed, and it's got stuck on him. It's not confirmed.
horrible.
I think they're still waiting for scans to come back, but from what I've heard from a couple of people is that it's not good.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, and it's not the club's fault or the supporters' fault. No one would have expected that to happen. And of course, they didn't intentionally injure him. It has happened before against Heidelberg when they scored a last minute winner in the FFA Cup a couple of years ago. It's just unfortunate, that there was such a big crowd there and the fence just gave way. It's
Would a possible solution be putting the fans in the grandstand?
I thought that's what the plan was for the game. From what I saw of the game preparation that they posted online was that the Knights fans would be in one section of the grandstand and Melbourne Serbia would be in the far corner. No one would be on that side, but that plan obviously didn't come to fruition. But it was a huge crowd. It was about 2,000, I think, was reported that attended that game. So you can see what it meant to them. Great win for Knights. They're flying now in VPR 1. They look really good.
Yeah, great win. Famous moment. I will say, where were those fans in other weeks when they play? Where were those fans when they were about to get relegated?
Yeah, that's the surprising part. we'll see when they play, Lang Warren at home, what the crowd figure will be in the middle of winter.
That big Croatian-Scottish rivalry. That only exists on the NPL Victoria podcast. Lockie's not here to contest it.
Not every day you get a Balkan derby like that, so, yeah.
Great moment for Luka Kolic. What a goal. And Josh Diven, doesn't matter how they go in, I guess.
Well, he's going to get a lot of game time now with Anastovsky being out long term, so a lot is weighing on his shoulders now.
All right, be careful around fences, everybody. Melbourne Knights with the Chockies, and we wish Darcy Anastovsky the speediest of recoveries. Over to the Veneto Club, and no Nick Debano this week. I think we know why. Bulleen, another defeat. No live stream for this one, but there were highlights up, and Connor Bell fails to score for the first time in a Bulleen jersey, and they can't get the points. They led pretty early in this game, a first Bulleen goal for one of their youngsters off a corner. But Brunswick Juve with North Shahavdic in the second half and the winning goal. It's just pure slapstick comedy.
Oh, that's one way to lose a game. Jeez. I was pissing myself laughing when I was saying it. How can you get that so wrong? He mustn't have known where he was, the keeper. He mustn't have
Explain it for people who haven't seen it.
So it was a high ball.
Yeah.
And he's running backwards, tapped it onto the crossbar and it's just thrown it straight to the striker's foot and it's tapped it into an open goal.
Yeah, none of his defenders were near him because they were just expecting him to either tip it over the bar or for it to just nestle on the ridge of the net.
Not just giving assist.
You've actually you've tapped it down.
Yeah.
It's like a volleyball shot.
Yeah, got that one horribly wrong and another loss for Bulleen. So yeah.
Yeah, well, a Choi alley-oop for Brunswick Juve to win the game and slam it home. So more issues for Jacopo La Rocca, and the pressure heats up there. Northcote winning 2-1 against North Sunshine. We saw Thierry Swarby continues his goal-scoring run. He's the top scorer in the league, I think. And North Sunshine succumbing to a long throw. So Northcote jumped on the bandwagon and found their own long throw specialist for Liam Nolan to grab the winner. Manningham got a 3-1 win away to North Geelong Warriors, which is a great result for Nick Marinos. And Brunswick City with a 3-2 comeback win over Melbourne Victory. Trent Skipetis and Dylan Allshawn both on the score sheet in that game. So their attacking weapons starting to really fire. Yeah, good result for Brunswick City, but geez, Victory struggling a little bit, aren't they? I think I tipped them for automatic promotion to get out of VPL. I think that's another one we got wrong.
Yeah, horribly wrong. I expected a lot more from them. Really got off to a poor start to the season, but Northcote, they're the only team that's undefeated I think the only team that's won every game in NPL, VPL 1 and VPL 2. So
yeah, 5-0-0 for Max Clark's boys and a goal difference of plus 11. It's not too bad.
Probably, look, I didn't rate them that highly. I know you said high ceiling, low floor, whatever your bloody...
My artful fence sit.
But geez, he's done extremely well.
I think it's been good timing for him as well because he's a former Melbourne Western United youth coach, and that program kind of fell over and then was resurrected on the eve of the season with half of Green Gully's juniors, and a few other players. But he's had his pick of all of those players that he worked with in that program, and he knows which ones can come in and do a job straight away. Plus, the Tassie guys he's brought in have been good. Swarby's a revelation. I loved his highlight reel, but I had no inclination as to whether it was going to translate to Victorian football or not.
Yeah, that's where I probably was a bit naive with the way I looked at it when they were recruited, because Western United have been so good in this competition for the last couple of seasons. Probably should have been promoted a couple of times. So very smart recruiting by him, and flying.
They sure are. On the other end of the table, Port Melbourne in trouble. They had a 1-1 draw, though, against Lang Warren. FC Melbourne Serbia down in the bottom three, as well as North Sunshine. Let's head over to VPL 2. Couple of results to highlight from this week. The main thing is that the top of the table, Melbourne City, were knocked off by Altona City. So Ivan Gergic still riding the high of his goal call for Luka Kolic and carried that form and momentum into this game. So big result for Altona City. Essendon Royals 3, Werribee City 1 at Galvin Park. Apparently, if you lose to Essendon Royals, you lose your job. That's how things are going for them. So unfortunate for Craig Moore and Werribee, but they're back down near the bottom of the table. Bayside Argonauts got the 2-1 win against Whittlesea United with Mitch Cooper and Scott Jamieson, former Melbourne City captain, scoring the winner in the 94th minute, would you believe? So great to see him strapping on the boots again. And elsewhere, Springvale White Eagles restoring some Serbian pride with a 2-1 home victory over Eastern Lions. Let's push ahead to our tips for the coming weekend, Ivka. It's a tighter podcast this week. Turns out when we don't have those time wasters on the other end of the Riverside call with their stupid gags and bring their phones out to play into the microphone.
Real football talk tonight.
We rip through things pretty quickly around here. Bentleigh Greens versus Green Gully, the Green Machine on Friday night. It is do or die for David Chick's boys.
Yeah, you'd say so. I think you'd be under severe pressure to hang on if they lose this one, but giving me no reason to tip them. So I'm going to go Bentleigh 2-0.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Bentleigh 2-1. I tipped Green Gully last week and I've been regretting it all weekend. Had a horrible tipping week for me. Dandenong City versus Hume City, 7:45 kickoff, I should say, at Frank Holohan. So watch out for the kangaroo poo.
It's a huge game for Dandenong City. You know, they really need to get their season going very, very quickly. Otherwise, they could find themselves in a little bit of trouble. So these are the games at home that they should be winning. I'm going to tip them to win just based on Tolsey being able to put a rocket up their asses after that performance last week. I would say they can play a lot better than they did against Avondale. So I'm going to say Dandenong City 3-2.
3-2. And Nick DeBano's in the room with me, apparently. But we talk about the score draws, but he loves a 3-2 as well. I'm going to go, it's a tough one. I'm going to sit on the fence with a 1-1 draw here. Oakleigh Cannons versus Caroline Springs George Cross is a tasty one on Friday night at 8:15.
The worst thing that could have happened to Georges was Heidelberg scoring 3 goals in that first half against Oakleigh, because they're going to come out with a point to prove against Georges. I think the good run for Georges is going to come undone at this in this game. I think Oakleigh will win 3-1.
I'm going to go Oakleigh 2-0. Preston versus Avondale. Zoran Markovsky revenge game.
Not just that, geez. There's we're both going to be there on Friday night calling it. It's a juicy one.
A few ex-Avondale players in the Preston team. In all of his interview content, every time I bring it up, Zoran Markovsky has still not used the name of his former employer, I've noticed, which is a little bit of almost a Graham Arnoldism to not acknowledge your opposition.
Look, it's
I don't know if the coach whisperer has been onto him.
Whoever can keep their emotions more in check. I'm not worried about Zocky. He'll be fine. More Bryce, Kuba, those ones.
Vinny.
And then flip side on Avondale as well, there'll be some that will be getting stuck into Preston as well. So I think whoever settles better, it's going to be a really good game.
Every chance Steph Valentini gets sent off.
Yeah.
That's what's going through my head.
Strong chance. I can Preston 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to say Avondale down to 10. Not necessarily Steph. It could be somebody else. And I reckon Preston will run out 3-1 winners as a result. On Saturday night, Dandenong Thunder versus South Melbourne. Bloody impossible to tip South Melbourne games these days.
Are they back?
Let me check the OFC Pro League fixture. I do not think so.
I need to know this information.
Okay. This is a thrilling podcasting as I do a live Google. Everybody loves it when I do that. Round 4.
They should be back, I reckon, because they only play Solomon Kings.
Yeah, they could be, but they play Solomon Kings on Thursday. The short turnaround. They'll fly back from Honiara.
I wonder if Lopez and Eliopolis and all that ended up going.
I wouldn't have thought so.
All right. I don't know what to tip here. I'm No reason to tip against South. No reason to tip Dandenong Thunder. South Melbourne 1, Dandenong Thunder 0.
Yeah. I think 1-1 draw in this game. I'm going to give him a modicum of credit.
This is one that Dandenong Thunder needs to step up for.
Yeah.
You can't do what Green Gully did last week. If it's a similar lineup, they need to put their foot down in this one. But I still think South will win.
I just think the miles on South, if they roll out their starters, it's going to be tough. If they don't, it's also going to be tough. So it's a bit of a rock and hard play situation for them. Melbourne City versus Altona Magic on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pick your scoreline.
Jesus. Altona 1-0. No, seriously. I think Melbourne City 6.
Ooh.
Altona Magic 2.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the end coming on that one. I'm going to say Melbourne City win 4-0 and St Albans Dinamo 5 p.m. Sunday night kickoff against Heidelberg.
Jeez. This is a type of game that Dinamo would win, you know. This is the type of game that they would bloody win. But I'm not going to tip that.
I think Dinamo, before the South Melbourne Championship semi-final, Dinamo, I think, were the last team to hold hold Heidelberg scoreless in a match. So the whole year before.
Okay.
That was going back a while now. This is 2024.
They played all right against them last season too, from memory.
They're usually good games, but Heidelberg usually has enough.
Yeah, and that was last season. This is this season. Heidelberg.
Penetrating insights from Mark Ivkovic.
Heidelberg 4, Dinamo 0.
I'm going to say 4-2 Heidelberg's way. Well, that wraps up the NPL Victoria podcast for another week. I've been Josh Parrish, joined by Mark Ivkovic, and hopefully these lazy freeloaders remote podcasting will rejoin us next week.
We'll keep it together, Josh.
Holding down the fort here and the NPL Victoria pod for another week. Big thank you to our sponsors, Melville Bodyworks and Content Hype, and we'll speak to you again soon.